The past years I've become really fond about those extreme perspective photos where I pose myself in the landscape to give a sense of scale and impact. One could call them epic selfies. Due to popular demand, I'll in this video show how to take exactly such a photo by sharing the techniques, how to pose and the settings. I originally intended to show this in an epic landscape, but then that thing hit which no YouTuber can talk about in fear of demonetization, which meant I had to think out of the box. The technique for taking the epic selfie is actually pretty simple. You need a big epic thing in the background. It might be a glacier or a mountain or whatever comes to mind. In my case, because I live in Denmark, we don't have anything like waterfalls, glaciers, mountains, anything like that. But what we do have is architecture. We love our architecture and we especially love our bridges. So why not just choose the biggest bridge we have, put it in the background, and then me in the foreground. That's basically it. So after about an hour of scouting, I think I've finally found my composition. I have tried a few different places on the way out here, but this one here is really good. I've had to go way back to get the right perspective, but luckily the fields around here are not in use, so I can just walk on top of them. So the trick to show this massive scale is that you have enough distance between the camera, the background and the person in the scene. As long as the background is kilometers away, you don't really need to worry about that. But the distance between the person posing and the camera needs to be as big as possible, at least so big that the person in the scene becomes very small. Now, since we have to zoom in this specific scene to get the shot, the person has to be very far away. And in this case here, I think there's at least half a kilometer between me posing and where I put up the camera. So right now I'm walking down into position and it is literally a 4-minute walk from the camera to down here where I'm supposed to stand. And right now there's this super cool phenomena where the underside of the bridge is getting lit by the reflection of the sun on the water. I didn't expect that, so obviously I want to catch that too. I'm not sure if the final photo will turn out good, but it sure looks cool from here, as long as I'm not looking straight at it because it's kind of blinding. Among other themes, I talk about how to compose for scale and the direction of the subject in my 113 pages ebook on composition in landscape photography. So if you want to know more about composition in landscape photography, there is a link in the description. So how I make sure that I'm taking photos while I'm in the field is I just put on my interval shooting function. So I make sure that it's on, and then I just set the shooting start time. And my shooting start time, I put it for 2 minutes and 44 seconds. There's about 3.5 minutes for me to get from up here to down there. So when I've set that, I just put in my shooting interval, which in my case is 4 seconds. You can put it to whatever you want, dependent on the scene, but I don't want to take too many photos that I have to delete afterwards. So 4 seconds is fine, then I can change my pose and yeah, it's all good. And just put a maximum number of shots which is high enough.
and my auto exposure tracking sensation is just high. I think it's a little bit potato.
If your camera doesn't have a built-in intervalometer, you can just get a combination of a wire trigger and an intervalometer. They are available for most cameras.
When it comes to the settings, it's super easy. I prefer aperture priority when I do these kind of epic selfies. The reason for that is I need the camera to control the light, because when I walk far into the distance, I obviously cannot do that. So that is why I prefer aperture priority when I'm in a situation like this. Usually I just lock down the ISO at lowest possible, and then I put in the aperture I need to have whatever elements in focus I need to have in focus. And because it's aperture priority, the shutter speed will just be whatever the shutter speed will be, depending on how you put your exposure compensation. So when you're doing these epic selfies, it's absolutely essential that you're using a long lens. So one where you can zoom far in. Depending on the scene, you might be able to just get away with like 100mm or 200mm. Personally, right now I'm at 300mm on a full frame camera. So a super important aspect of making epic selfies is of course posing. And the first tip is to make sure that you do not have the horizon line go straight through the throat of people. It looks weird. It looks as if you are cutting off the head from the body. So now that we have fixed that, the next part is of course a few tips for posing. Now personally I prefer to put all my weight on one leg and just support the body with the other. So a relaxed position like this, but a little bit like, action with the arms out or something like that. I do not like to stand like this. It looks robotic and, well, to say it out loud, weird, super weird. So just look natural. Look as if you're really just standing, relaxed, and looking at whatever you're looking at. That is my preferred way of posing. Now, a thing I think that is very important to avoid is to put your hands in the pockets. It looks sloppy and it looks as if you do not want to be there. Especially this pose here. It looks like the freezing girlfriend is what I'm calling it. It looks as if the person standing here doesn't want to be there. So look as if you actually enjoy the scene. Look as if the scene is impressive. And just be like, if it's windy, do something with your hands on top of your head, or I don't know, make a handstand or whatever you need to do. But just make the pose as if you want to be there and make it look engaging. So the sunset is approaching fast and the conditions here are just super pretty, gorgeous. It's just like, really fresh air. And then you have like a little band of haze in the horizon. So it lights up in those red colors. So within the shot I get like red background and then blue water. This is really nice. So what I'm also doing right now is I'm just shooting through the sunset controlled. Like I've just come back from standing down there. So I have a few shots with sunset colors with myself in the frame. So right now I'm just standing here making sure that I get sharp photos because the light is going down quite fast. So I'm already now, if I need to have both the foreground and the background in focus, I'm already down like 1/15th of a second. And that's a little bit tricky to shoot with when you're shooting at 300mm. So silent shooting on, just to have no mechanical stuff within the camera move. I also have image stabilization on and f13, f16-ish. So yeah, the shutter speed gets long very fast. And this is how you make an epic selfie.
When I had my sunset photos, I went back to another composition I came by earlier. In this photo, the distance between the camera and myself is smaller, with the result I am larger relative to the bridge. I really like this photo too, but concerning scale it gives less of an impact. On my way back to the car, I noticed the sea was relatively calm, so I stopped for a few photos of the bridge reflected in the water. The darkness came fast, and during that session the moon became more visible. I managed to get this minimalistic photo of the bridge along with the new moon. With the release of this video, I still have a 40% discount on my advanced Photoshop tutorials. When the sale is over, the offer is gone. And as mentioned, if you want to know more about composition in landscape photography, be sure to get my ebook on that subject. You can get the free light version first by signing up for my newsletter. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, I'd highly appreciate a like, and I'm curious to know which one of the photos from the video you like the most. Let me know down in the description.